And cut my second slice of cake while no one's watching.
Yeah, do it.
Is this part all being cut out?
Yeah. So hello, James. It's been a little while since we've been able to talk online like this from our campaign and stuff. How's things?
All good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, yes, all good. And it's been a bit of an interesting experience getting this set up. Like I've had this in mind for a while, like doing this sort of fireside chat type thing, but actually getting it all together. You're only my second interview. So you know, this is still fairly new, finding our feet with it. But as was commented in the it was originally an idea in the Discord server for a slice of dice. Slight gimmicky thing, as we've discussed about, and I pre-warned you so that you've had some time about if you could bring any slice with you to this interview, what would you bring? And I believe you have actually got one with you.
Yeah, well, my always choice for first slice is actually usually pizza, but I had one last night and I was like, I can't have pizza twice in a row, so go to secondary slice, a nice slice of cake. So I have my cake already, one slice pre-cut, and many other slices ready to be cut, depending on how long this takes.
Excellent.
If I get through half a cake, we've gone too long.
That is a good sort of passage of time, like rather than a sundial because it's night. It's using how many segments of cake get eaten.
You know what? Just at the end, don't ask me to show you the whole cake. Like, I don't want to prove to people how much I've eaten. Don't ask for it.
That's
at the
okay.
end.
Hey, there'll be no cake shaming. Don't worry about cake shaming. Not going to be a thing. But I see you went for the chocolate cake. Was there a particular reason for the chocolate cake?
Always chocolate cake. Other cakes don't compare.
What is it about chocolate cake in particular, would you say, that leads you to that conclusion rather than any other? What makes it superior, would you say?
Go to dessert. Like, you go to a restaurant, you think you're looking at the dessert menu, and everyone's always like, oh, should I have that chocolate brownie? Or that chocolate cake? Or maybe that vanilla thing. You know, the chocolate, it's always top priority.
So does it apply to ice cream as well then? You'd go for the chocolate ice cream over the vanilla ice cream or any other flavour?
I would go for chocolate ice cream if I'm like scoop. So you've got like a scoop of ice cream, like you're on a beach or something, chocolate ice cream. But chocolate always improves. Like my go-to ice creams, Magnums.
Right, because they're covered in chocolate, yeah.
Vanilla on the inside. But the ones that are better are like the triple chocolate ones. And they keep bringing them back, and then they keep cancelling them because they can't get it right.
They're just tantalising.
That's the one time. Yeah, that's the one time that vanilla is a good choice, when it's covered in chocolate.
Okay, well, that's an interesting thought. How do you feel about those like Belgian waffle cones that have like the chocolate on it? So the chocolate Belgian waffle cones. Like, would you then have chocolate ice cream on top of that, or would it like be back to vanilla? Like, where would you go with that?
I don't.
You've never had one?
I've never had one.
Sorry, that sounded really like I was aghast, but actually that was more just for your sake. Like, dude, come on. We're gonna get right at some point when I'm back in the UK next. So it'll be in 2023, right? We'll go to like a park. There's always an ice cream van around somewhere, or one of those. Oh no, or go to a gelaterie or something, and they have like the proper cones there. Like, we're getting you one of those. It has to happen.
Oh no, so horror. I have to try other desserts. Oh no.
Oh no, don't force me to go have dessert with you.
This sounds like a horrible plan.
I see that you have planned out your attire for today as well, so I cannot go further without a little shameless plug to our merch store, which James is repping with our And collection.
Yeah.
For the entire party. Here we go. You can get them for yourself. There is a link to that. If you're watching this on YouTube, there is a link to that down below. And actually, no, there's a link to that on podcast as well if you're listening on podcast. Because, yeah, we've got audio and visual covered here. Speaking of our podcast listeners, I should say that I You may notice I'm vamping a little bit between questions. It's when I notice that James has just taken a slice of cake that I'm like, I need to fill up the time so he doesn't choke. So if you wonder why I'm speaking for a bit longer than perhaps an interviewer should, that may be why. Sorry, James. Don't wish he nearly choked me saying that. Sorry.
He waited for me to take a bite to make that joke. But yes, let's make him choke on it.
It wasn't a joke. It was a public service announcement.
I'm going to make him suffer.
Give them cake. Let them eat cake. To kick things off then, talk us through, because obviously I've met you through playing Dungeons and Dragons, but obviously there was life before me,
yep.
Clearly. So how did you first get into TTRPGs? What was your first experience?
The person who got me into it was actually my ex-girlfriend. So she got me into it when I lived back in outside of London. She got into it, and then we started watching some Critical Role sort of thing, and then Critical Role got me into the start of it. And it wasn't until I moved up to London that I was able to join like an actual D&D group. Like, not as easy to find a group of players, because back then, everyone, before the coronavirus, everyone wasn't very like online for D&D and everything. So it was like places to meet up, and outside of London was difficult to find them. Probably not so much these days. Everything's online, so people just playing across the world with each other. But then when I moved up to London, started the Sunday game where met you. So that was the game that we played with my paladin character was my first D&D.
Wow. So you moved to London, and then how did you find out about was it through the meetup? There was a meetup group.
Yeah, so it was the meetup group, an app. One of my friends, he looking into D&D at the time as well, because we weren't. He didn't have as many friends, like, because he's an old uni friend. So he didn't have anyone else in London that he knew to go to one of those events with. So when there were three of us living in London, me, my ex-girlfriend, and him, we were like, let's fucking play some D&D. So we found the group, went to the Sunday events, and that's where I met you guys.
Ah, what a small world, because of my journey was pretty similar in how I got started. So had you played at all before moving to London, or was it you've just seen the clips? It cut out a little bit, so I wasn't sure.
No, so it was just been watching clips and such. So I've watched a lot of Critical Role and read through stuff. I didn't have any handbooks, stuff like that. I've never owned any of the handbooks. When I was towards D&D on that, and hadn't paid for any of it yet. So I had the basics of stuff. So my first character, I was like, there aren't many options for stuff. Generally didn't even know like how all the subclasses worked and stuff like that. So when there was like 2 options of subclasses on D&D Beyond for free, I was like, yep, I'll pick one of them. And it wasn't until like, I think it was one of the players, Judith, when she started her one, and I was like, I want to play some other stuff. I started to learn bits more, so I bought specific bits. I was like, I'm not going to pay £30 for an online book, so I bought like very specific bits. So I bought like Paladin the Vengeance specifically, so it was like, £1. So I've got like access to the specific parts that I knew I wanted to play, and that's when I started to expand my D&D knowledge.
Wow.
Stuff just outside the basic.
Yeah, I had no idea that, because it was Kane, wasn't it? Your first character, right? The Paladin.
Good memory, yeah.
I had no idea that he was your first D&D character. Like because when I joined the Sunday thing, I think you'd already been there for a little while, and so I assumed that you'd been playing for quite a bit longer, right? Yeah. But actually, it turns out we were in exactly the same boat. Like when I came to the table with Todd the Gnome Ranger. That was my first I had played one character before that. No, I had played twice before that but they were one time off. It was like the starter set, and then I think it was a live stream 24-hour thing I did with the group some years ago. But Todd was like my first sort of character that I made myself, that I put some time into, and that I was going to bring for a long-term thing. And we were in the same position. That's so weird. I had no idea. And so have you?
Uh,
Sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I remember Todd the Gnome Ranger with his hyena pet.
Yes, yes. His Harry the hyena, his pet, which he
Yeah.
that was from a natural 20 animal handling check against a pack of hyenas. Instead, because I got bored of
Nice.
just like attacking, so I went, I want to try and mount it like rodeo style. Natural
Yep.
20, and he was like, right, that you seem to have not dominated the monster, but you know, so he seems to respect you. He's your pet now. I was like, thank you, I'll take that.
Yeah.
So we've got Kane. That was your first sort of experience. Now, outside of the games that you've played with me, have you? Because if that was your first experience, do you expand into sort of other games or any other systems, anything like that? What came after the moving to London and the Sunday D&D stuff?
There wasn't too much because most of the games we played were side games of other people from the meetup. So like the guy who runs the meetup, Simon, he started a new one near himself, which we both joined, I think.
Yeah.
So that was like second campaign of that sort of thing. I've done sort of just little one-off games with other people, and that's sort of just been like go to their games at the pub, sort of be the guest character joining in for a couple games sort of stuff. But like I said before lockdown, everything was really in person, so it was easier to get around in London to get to places, much more travelable. But committing to a game, it was like, okay, if I after work, it's a 45-minute journey to that pub. Then we play the game, 45-minute journey home. It's like, it's a bit far. I haven't really looked around for a new campaign and such since everything kind of went online. So I assume it's like just a lot easier now to find people. Because it's like, oh yeah, can you be online at 7 p.m? It's like, yes, that is a lot easier. So it wasn't too many games. I DM'd for a couple games. We started doing, what was it called? I think you've actually still. I think you've got my book. I think I lent it to you right before
Tales of
lockdown.
the Yawning Portal. Yes, I've still got it.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So I think we did a few things from that because I went to like a big D&D shop in London. I can't recall its name top of my head, and I was like, I'm trying to plan the campaign, but like I don't want it to be like this overarching super like one level 20 sort of thing. I was like, I want it to be easy so that we can start off sort of thing. And they recommended Tales of the Yawning Portal because they were all sort of standalone stuff that you could either mix together to make a overarching thing. You could pick what level you wanted to start. So I was like, yes, nice easy one to start with. We started with Tales of the Yawning Portal.
Are you looking to get back into that, like the DMing side of it, at some point? Because I need to give you the book back for one thing.
No, I enjoyed DMing, but I've realised because that was my very, very first time DMing. I think the one thing probably a lot of people realise the very first time DMing is not having your story set in stone. Like I was following that, I was like, okay, there's a lot of stuff here. They'll go from here to there, and then you introduce like one thing, and you're like, you guys have already gone off the path. Like, how have you? Like, you've had one role, and you're not doing the right stuff already. So it's one of those things. Like the very first time DMing, you're like, why aren't they doing what they're supposed to do? And then I realized my friends are idiots.
You're not following the book.
Yeah, I didn't have given them as much free reign, and it's like, my friends are idiots. Why aren't they following the obvious? And it's like, would I know this if I didn't have the book in front of me? It's like, I'd probably be worse.
I mean, this is it. Like, you could never predict what the players are going to come out with.
Yeah.
You can try your best to, but they're always going to surprise you. At least in my experience, and I think we can vouch for in our campaign in the Manylands that there have been a number of curveball moments which have mostly come from the players.
Yeah.
Leading swiftly on and very neatly on from because we've already kind of started doing that. Can you share with us some of your most sort of memorable moments from your role-playing days so far?
No moments. I think probably first real big bad, which was in our campaign with Kane and Todd, was when we fought a Rex Attacker, which I think I had enough to that.
I
We
think
fought
I missed the Rakshasa session. I think. I could be wrong.
I can't. You may have, but our
But I
first
know that happened.
real big bad because we just kept going down. And it's one of those things where we're like, okay, this person's down, this person's mind controlled, and everything was going wrong, an entire city was burning, and we're like, okay, there are actual stakes, we're fucking up, let's do this. So I remember our first real big bad, and probably any other moments I think of, they're always just moments that were completely outside the box. So one was, I think she was a wizard that we were playing with. Can't recall her name. She was there for the first 2 months that I started playing in the Sunday game, and there was this door puzzle, and the answer to the riddle was just a mouse, and that was the answer. But like, everyone was sort of like, the fuck did we find a mouse for this? And so like possible options were stuff like, finding a mouse in the cave, bringing one from the shop, and she thought to make a small illusion of a mouse, and he was like, shit, you fucking got it. And so we got like super secret treasure, and one of the things was, it was a figurine of wondrous power of a mammoth.
Oh.
And so it was just like once every a week or so you can summon a mammoth, which is like CR6, and we were like level 5, level 6, so we were like, yeah, fuck yes. Like, he wasn't expecting us to get the actual answer right, but she had this pet mastodon that she was using, and we were like, cool, yeah, we're now overpowered. Unfortunately, he raised the bar of enemies a bit, but we had a pet mastodon, and luckily in that game, our long rests were a week, so every second we went back, we got it to use it again. We didn't have to wait like 7 sessions to use it. She literally used it every single session. It's like, what do you want to do first in combat? I want to summon a fucking mastodon. When she moved away, she like bequeathed her items to people, and she bequeathed the item to someone who was really shit at remembering to use it. And so it was at the start of every combat, and I was just giving them a look like, use the figurine, and they just kept forgetting. They were like, figurine, got it, fireball, and I was like, why'd you give it to another wizard?
Oh, was it Caden the wizard who ended up with it? Yeah, Caden, who was quite forgetful.
Your name memory is just on point.
I end up associating the faces with the. That's one of the things, is that yes, going to these meetups is great for meeting new people, but then you get completely paralyzed with names, because you're suddenly trying to remember their actual name as well as their character name, and you use the character name a lot more than you're going to use the actual player's name. So I remember the faces of the guys around the table, but the real names often escape me. Obviously there was you with Kane, the paladin, who basically would never take his armor off, and he was not evil. He totally didn't get an evil hand at one point because of an evil wand. But let's not get into that.
Well, that was solely because the DM looked so disappointed that no one was taking the obviously evil wand, and I'm like, that's a plot hook. He's worked hard on this. Like, I'll take the evil wand. I mean, the regular wand. He looked so heartbroken that no one was taking it.
So, you see, that's your first mistake, feeling sorry for the DM. Like, no. Well, no, I think you should at times, but like, maybe in this case, it was just an illusion.
Yeah, I think we were probably playing that for 2 years or so. And then from that one game, we sort of started like 3 side games, because one person started their own one, which was like every 2 months. And then there was another game which was like every 2 weeks sort of thing. And I say at some point, it's like, I'm playing D&D, like 5 different campaigns. It takes up so much travel time.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, just time.
Yeah.
I think you touched on something very important here as well, which I have been guilty of in the past. And I think that I have like a bit of an addictive personality. And if I enjoy something, I'll just want to do more and more and more and more and more. And then, it got to a point, I think, where I was attached to 8 different campaigns, something like that, and you just have to kind of take a hard look at yourself and go, now, bearing in mind not all of these were every week, but still there was still it's 4 evenings a week. That's a lot of your time, or some of them would be like weekends, like throughout the day on a Saturday, for instance. Well, because obviously we
Yeah,
used to have the
yeah.
Sunday one.
I totally have other stuff to do in the evening. Totally, yeah. Totally have
But
other stuff
but
to do.
even if you don't have other stuff to do in the evening, like
Just time for
sometimes you just need to allow some time to yourself. Like I've got to the point. I kind of had a bit of a crisis at one point, and I recognized that what, I just need one evening off a week where I just don't do anything, and I can just be with myself and just chill and watch some TV or something.
I think the one problem with having multiple campaigns is if you've got multiple long-term campaigns. Because I think if you're playing like 3 or 4 long-term ones, you're very stuck in which character you want. Because one thing I like doing is just making new characters, and it's like so much like, okay, I want to try this, want to try that. Like, I love playing Seth, and I love my Rogue Warlock, but like if I'd like to have some little side games where it's like six to 8, like not sessions sort of thing. So you can play a character, use all its abilities, start at like a reasonable level, so you're not doing that wade from level 1 to 3 for every campaign sort of thing. Play a character, get out your system that I've used everything for it, and then try something new.
We're going to put a pin in that because that is going to be a question that we can come back to about character concepts, and I think you're a great person to talk to about that. Last thing on memorable moments, as Seth in the Manylands campaign, what are your most memorable moments in the campaign so far?
For the most memorable one is our main moment from when we were all in person was Neris's death, because I just remember I remember the complete silence of everyone at the table and all staring at you while you were describing what was happening after the ritual to like bring her back, and you looked so uncomfortable that everyone was completely silent and completely engrossed in you. Because usually when you're at a table, unlike online, you can have little talks across the table. So like DK and Bart would sit across from me, so as like something was happening, we'd quietly chat, like, are you gonna attack this? Are you doing this? Don't forget to heal me. Like online, we've got a Discord chat to do that sort of side chatting bit, so that it's not just us whispering in the background of someone talking online. But for that one moment, all of us were completely silent and completely engrossed. We're like, what's happening? Shit, we've got to save her. Like, it was our first dramatic moment of everyone is entirely 100% focused, and you were like, they're all focused. Shit, don't mess up.
Yeah, it's a fair point, because you do think as an actor, I'm used to having the spotlight on me, but in the context of the campaign, you're right. Like it was always a bit light-hearted, fun and games, and there'd be these side chats and whatever, and then suddenly it was like pulled focus to this one moment because of the flesh brollies, as they were known, but the dark mantles. And just suddenly, oh my god, this game has consequences. This character is dead, and it's especially because it was Marta's first character as well. Like, she'd never played D&D before, and there was probably a little bit of the almost like a group sort of care sort of side of things, like not like a paternal instinct, perhaps maternal instinct, that you're saying like, oh no, but it was suddenly like complete focus and complete quiet, and you could hear a pin drop in that moment. That was way back in episode 14, and but I think that this is
was that 14?
1-4,
Holy hell.
Magic Hammers and Dark Rituals, I believe, was the name of the session. It's still on
Wow,
YouTube.
I thought that was much later. Wow.
It was early when that happened, because low levels are riskier for life. There's a bit more of a swing, but equally, I think it speaks to, because we were saying, like, obviously the convenience of playing online, and it is very convenient, 100%. But I feel like we never would have got that drama when you're in the room with people together. You sense the tension and the rest of it. You can feel something in the air, and you're picking up on the reactions of everybody. Like, it's a lot more palpable when you're all together, I think, than online. And you kind of lose that.
We've had like very dramatic moments since we've been online and such, but the drama of it isn't as obvious to other people, because like someone will be talking you'll be doing descriptions of stuff, and our Discord chat, like everyone's talking all capitals, all angry gifs of like, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like,
I do
we
peek
need to
at
do
those
this.
occasionally during the game, and I'm like, oh, should have looked at that.
Yeah.
That's going to put me off.
It's like us talking. It's like, what the hell's happening? Someone do like, it's super dramatic, and then on screen we're sort of like, okay, yep, we're gonna do this. So just that less dramatic. Like if it was in person, you'd see me and DK would probably be looking at each other from across the table like, what are you doing? Heal me. It's just
Yeah.
But it's hard to do. It's like I can't point to the top right corner of my phone and be like, you, yes, you, do it.
It's very true. Very true. Favorite character concept that you have yet to try out at a table? Go ahead.
One I really want to try out because I really like world building. It's so fun, and inside my head, like I wish I was good at like drawing or writing because I'd like to like make a story or something. So because I make tons in my head, and so one of them is a concept for you steal it from different places. So it's half from Star Wars and half a series I used to watch called Legend of the Seeker. So that one was based off a book called Sword of Truth, and they had something called Maud Sith, which were like bodyguards and stuff like that to stop people with magic. So one of the concepts I really wanted to make was a blood hunter profane soul. So that's the one that has a little bit of warlock thrown into the blood hunter. And so I really wanted to make it as like a magic policeman sort of thing. So because with the blood hunter, you've got the blood magic and the warlock spell slots, and they all reset on short rests. But like one of the things, their level 9 ability is it's really perfect for campaigns where the DM's like, can you just figure this shit out? Because it's sort of like, oh, you touch an area or you touch a person and you can sense an idea of what happened. Like you get a psychometry. So it's like one of those words that you read but you realize you never pronounce.
Like prestidigitation.
Like yes. Like, so you touch something and you get an idea of the bad things that have happened around it. So, you go to a location and your DM's like, oh, please figure out what this thing is. And it's like, I'm going to try and sense the evil stuff in the room. And it's like, yeah, perfect. I can give you backstory for the room. So I've always pictured it as like a good police officer. And so you've got the blood magic, which you can do stuff like the person can't see. You can hold the person in place. And then you've got the warlock spells, which by like level 9 or 10 includes like counterspell. So I've always pitched them as like a really good anti-magic person. So it's like for a counterspell, and now I can use my blood magic, same turn, hold in place, and it's like, yeah, you're under arrest. So I'm going to try a blood hunter magic police because the profane soul, I think it's the weakest blood hunter in terms of that. Like the Lycan one is the strongest by far. And I think profane soul was like middle weakest. But it's one of those things like when you're not playing something purely mechanical of like, I want to be the best. You're playing something because it's like, I want to play the concept. I really want to play Blood Hunter as like a bodyguard / detective type thing.
And that's the thing I think that gets lost in a lot of the if you like end up on a Reddit, on a forum like that, because it's always about the min-maxing and the power gaming and how much damage output is there, and it's like, guys, but what about the thematic stuff? Like that isn't that like there's a real joy in that you can have that, like you say, this concept of a police officer and being able to sort of detain and what have you, and it gets lost in the ether online, but in forums, should I say. But I've never actually played a blood hunter myself, so I'm not really too familiar with how the mechanics of it actually work.
So the blood hunter without the profane soul part isn't a spellcaster per se. The blood magic are stuff that you can do on a short rest. So you've got like a curse slot. So I think you've just got like one slot to a level 6. Then you get 2 slots, and you've only got a couple curses. So they're very like limited. So they're sort of just little extra things you do on top, sort of thing. So there's stuff like because it got reworked, so it doesn't use your HP as much. So like the main two that I always remember is one that you cause them to be sightless until their next turn, so they lose their vision, or you could hold them in place with a strength. They need a strength save for it until the next turn, but you can use your HP to make them more effective. So it's like if it's niche and you want to hold them for longer, then you can use your HP to amplify it. But their main thing is like lighting their weapon on fire, or covering it in ice. So you do extra damage. So it's a bit of HP. So they're very, very glass cannon at the start that, they hurt themselves and you're already one hit away from death. So it's more of a class I'd like to try from like level 5 on. They've got elements of, because it's made by Matt Mercer, so it's not like an official class or anything. So it's technically a homebrew and such. But there's a lot of elements of Ranger and Paladin. Because I think the first little feature is hunting, having advantage on like X to on like Fey, Fiend, and Undead. So it's like in our campaign, we have no one that's good at tracking. So that's why I've really started looking at Blood Hunter more. So it's like we're shit at tracking stuff. We've never successfully followed anyone, and we probably keep missing plot hooks Jack's getting pissed off about. So I'm like, Blood Hunter would be great for this investigation. I definitely imagine it being fun to play. Like I really want to play a Lycan one just to be pretty unstoppable eventually. But I kind of want to play a Profane Soul just to have that extra spell casting for some extra utility.
So before we go, I've got another thing that came off the Discord server, which is because we love our Discord chatterers, and they are actually called chatterers, the job role for being in a Slice and Dice chat server, was they came up with the random dice, the random question chart, and for this, I've asked you, James, to bring a D12. If you could roll that D12, please, and I will read a random question from the chart.
7.
Would you believe that 7 is exactly what Rich rolled in the last interview? So, but that's fine because you haven't been asked this question. So, which class do you think best represents you as a person?
Ooh, I would have to go sorcerer. I'd like magic. I don't want to have to learn it. I'd like it just to be super fucking easy, just instantly be there. So I could just sit back, cast some shit, be nice and subtle about it so people don't know that you're casting suggestions to go get your pizza or cake. Someone says to you, hey, do you want to try this vanilla ice cream? You're like, no. Look, you want to try chocolate.
Cast suggestion.
Yeah.
So sorry, this is which best represents you as a person. You're saying sorcerer. Would you go with a human sorcerer, or would you be a different species?
Other species. Human, bland and boring. something with more lifespan, so that you can be lazier for longer.
So you can be lazier for
I
longer.
want to put something off. I want to procrastinate stuff. I want a longer lifespan, so it's got less negative effects of procrastinating. So this won't be an issue of just years. Just
don't want the aging effect to take place as quickly as well. Like there's less pressure on your. Okay, got you. So a long-lived. So is there one in particular? Do you think you'd lean towards that best represents you?
Go elf, nice and long-lived.
Nice. We're talking a wood elf, half elf, dark elf, or any other kind of elf.
High elf or drow, unless we're actually playing the real, like what drow's actual like.
Oh, getting maligned by society sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, then fuck that. If it's not in the D&D world, then I'd choose drow. Lots of extra magic shit. Sunlight sensitivity, so actually less excuse to have to go out in the middle of the day and socialize. I can do everything at night. It's like, oh yeah, let's go for drinks. Works out much nicer. This isn't designed for you to make Seth more drow-like now.
Oh yeah. I didn't even think about that. He also does some charisma-based casting as a warlock. So yeah, let's see what happens with Seth when we pick up the campaign next year. With that whole drow stuff, because there is a bit of a. Yeah, that is a bit of a sword of Damocles hanging over that. We're not really sure how that's going to end up. So secrets.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for coming on, James. It's been great to catch up and actually
No problem.
to have you share your journey through tabletop role playing games. To reminisce about some great times that we've had so far, and it gets me all excited when we pick things up again as well. So look forward to doing some more gaming next year. Until then, take care. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Slice and Dice. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We really do appreciate your support. And of course, if you'd like to get involved in any future interviews, whether that's being a guest yourself or suggesting some options for our random question chart, join us on our Discord server. There should be a link to that down below.